course, all week calls for gun control and the debate rages on. So Phil and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, is there anything different about this mass shooting than the ones in the past?
There are more people injured, more deaths, and probably a greater amount of attention, so much so that even the NRA is stepping up to the plate and saying that instrument that turns a regular weapon into a machine gun, maybe, just maybe, we ought to take a second look at that. That's never happened. That didn't happen with the school kids, or it didn't happen with the Colorado shooting. It didn't happen any other place. This time, it's the first time, and obviously, it's not going to stay in Vegas.
And needless to say, of course, Dianne Feinstein's office was, it seemed like they already had a bill written and ready to go. So as soon as this happened, they proposed this this machine gun ban, this automatic assault weapons ban. And it's something that she's done before. She wants to do again, and she wants to get rid of those conversion kits. Even at the very least, if they can just get people to vote on it, I think Democrats feel like they want to get Republicans on record as opposing what they view as sensible legislation.
The Democrats would like to get Republicans on record as opposing, but in my conversations with Democrats, a lot of them fear being on record as well. And so they are comfortable. A lot of the Democrats, there are Democrats out there that don't want to vote on gun control one way or the other. And by Republicans playing hardball, it keeps them from having to make the call as well.
The single most powerful, influential group nationally is the NRA. They really do the job of protecting themselves in their interests, in their rights to guns. They've elevated it to the level of a religion. And believe me, politicians of every stripe and every place don't want to cross that line. They're so furiously loyal and protective of their interests. And believe me, I just think that when you buy all those guns and you keep buying those guns and the gun sales go up when somebody else fires, that only means it's going to be tougher to deal with the NRA.
And we see poll after poll, people say, oh, well, 89% of Americans want this kind of restrictions or this. The problem is that it's not just a matter of sort of breadth, it's a matter of depth. People might say, oh, yeah, that would be a good idea, but are you really going to vote on that issue? Are you really going to call your congressperson on that issue? The difference between sort of non-NRA members and NRA members is that the depth of commitment
the NRA is going to be there tomorrow, the next day, and the day after, while the other people move on to another.
And Phil, the NRA starts with, on every candidate, you vote NRA first, then you vote for everything else if you choose to. If you get tired, just do NRA.
So it sounded like Willie Brown thinks there's a chance that the NRA could support a bump stock ban. Does that open the door to the possibility that there could be other gun control? Or I don't know.
I think there's hope that that's what it's going to be. Although I interviewed Congresswoman Jackie Speer last week, and she said, this bump stock issue is a small issue, and let's not. That's a good thing if we're going to ban it or regulate it. But let's not mistake that for real gun control legislation and bigger gun control legislation that they want to see happen. So.
Obviously, the Democrats want a lot more than that.
Dissension in the ranks of California's Democratic congressional delegation, with one member saying Nancy Pelosi should step down as House Minority Leader.
Their contributions to the Congress and to the caucus are substantial, but I think there comes a time when you need to pass that torch, and I think it's time.
A spokesman for Nancy Pelosi said the Congresswoman enjoys wide support in the caucus, and she's focused on winning back the House. Anything else is just a distraction. Now, Phil and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, will there be new party leadership, and is this a good career move for Congresswoman Sanchez?
I understand very clearly the person who utters those words is on the bubble. The minute she says those words and she's without the votes, I guarantee you she goes to the back of the line, period. Nancy Pelosi moved the Democrats and herself into the speakership over a 20-year period. She raised more money and put together more things. She produced greater subject matter operations, particularly Obamacare. All of that represents something that's treasured. And believe me, her colleagues understand that, and Ms. Sanchez is going to be with her sister soon.
I find it interesting, though, she spoke publicly what I hear congressional people say privately.
Yeah, and of course,
no message, need a new messenger.
Yeah, and of course there's lots of grumbling about the direction of the Democratic Party, but the bottom line is with the money that Nancy Pelosi has produced for this party, for those candidates, the very ones that are complaining, and the fact that there doesn't seem to be anybody ready and willing to pick up the torch to do as good a job as Pelosi is doing. I mean, part of the problem is who steps up if it's not Nancy Pelosi, who has a proven record of being able to do as good a job as she does. There doesn't seem to be anybody.
And who runs like a feeder school for people to run for public office. She's got that daughter of hers that runs, I don't know what they call, almost like you do in the Army.
Boot camp.
Boot camp, training to get people together. Nancy has that whole structure. Remember, Nancy was the state party chair here in California. She led the effort to make sure this state stayed Democratic forever. She then moved into the place following the death of the second birth.
Right.
And literally more than 20 years ago, she put the whole operation together. And for anybody to suggest that age has somehow dulled her ability and her skill, they are simply wrong. She has never been a rock star. She never will be a rock star. That's not her strong suit.
Now, we've heard of the New Deal, right, and Contract with America.
Right.
Do you know the name of the Democrats' new plan? No, yeah.
No idea.
Nobody does. That is the problem. It's actually called a better deal, but it's just it's been an incredibly forgettable rollout.
Yeah.
It's just everything about it is not setting the world on fire.